Hello everyone, and welcome back to Phoenix Wright Trials and Tribulations. Previously, we began the second day of court in the second case, and, well, we managed to delay things enough to get the judge to give the go-ahead for us to pull Luke Atmey out of the court trial going on next door, where he was nearly about to be sentenced guilty for theft, because, well, we have reason to believe that Luke Atmey might be the murderer of King Bullard, and was just using a guilty verdict for theft as an alibi, of all things. So, I'm very interested to see about how this cross-examination will go, because it's probably going to cover incidents from both locations, both crime scenes, both the museum basement and the CEO office, so I guess we should just get going here. Now then, this court is back in session. Mr. Luke Atmey, please take the stand.
Well, how do you do, Sir Lawyer? I never would have thought to see you acting so recklessly.
I couldn't let them hand down your verdict just yet. That one would have given you your perfect alibi. An alibi by the name of Mask Demask.
I'm sorry. I'm afraid even the great Luke Atmey has no idea what you mean. Of course, I have been in the next courtroom ever since 10 o'clock this morning. I'm afraid there's no way I could know what's been going on in here.
You've been in the defendant's seat all day long, correct? Being tried as Mask Demask.
Indeed, it's truly child's play to fool the ignorant masses. Not only did the poor fools ask me to protect their valuables, they even gave me a generous reward upon returning their own property to them. Take this red diamond ring that sparkles upon my...
God damn it, it was right there in front of me the entire time. It was right there in front of me the entire time. It was right there in front of me the entire time.
That's what the blackmail letter's talking about!
God damn it.
Take this red diamond ring that sparkles upon my divine finger, for example.
So you continue to insist that you are in fact Mask Demask.
Of course.
Very well then, Luke Atmey. Let us begin with this simple question. On October 12th at 1 a.m., King Bullard was murdered. Where were you at that time?
One without knowledge lacks even the knowledge that he should be ashamed of himself. But don't worry, I will not hold it against you, Sir Judge.
Thanks. Alright, Mr. Atmey. The night of the murder. Speak. We're all ears.
As you wish, Sir Prosecutor.
The alibi.
I was stealing the urn as Mask Demask, just as I announced I would. I had more than enough time to prepare. It was a pathetically easy job. A photograph contains no words, but in this case, one turned out to be my witness. The time at which the camera captured Mask Demask was the same time as the murder.
It seems the main point of discussion will be this photo of the crime scene. Everything else up until now was all part of his plan. There has to be a secret to this picture as well.
Even the great Mask Demask cannot be in two places at once. Now then, if you'll excuse me, I have a verdict to receive.
Unfortunately, Mr. Atmey, you still have to do your cross-examination.
A fool is too foolish to know that he is a fool.
Whoa, Getting some Franziska von Karma vibes here.
I think he's trying to say that you're full of it, Nick.
The only thing that's full of it is his alibi.
I was stealing the urn as Mask Demask, just as I announced I would.
So this photograph is the proof, correct?
Indeed it is. And the man in the photo...
Oh, wait, that's Phoenix.
And the man in the photo is certainly wearing a mask. And that is why I am called Mask Demask.
But conveniently, that also means that there's no way to tell who this really is. What do you mean?
Objection!
Ha! Are you saying that this is not in fact Luke Atmey? That it could be an accomplice dressed up as Mask Demask to create an alibi? Oh, what an interesting idea. Are you saying that I, Lone Wolf Luke, had an accomplice?
There's no way. No. Unless... No. If Luke Atmey was at KB security during the murder, then the Mask Demask in this picture has to be a fake.
Then there really was an accomplice.
But right now, I have no idea who it was.
I don't have any idea right now either.
Baseless objections are just what that guy wants. There's got to be another way. I'm going to find it.
I had more than enough time to prepare. It was a pathetically easy job.
I believe Adrian Andrews hired you at one point.
That's right. That was over 20 days ago, if I'm not mistaken.
You sent the calling card to Lordly Taylor 10 days before the heist. That would mean you sent out the card after you began your security watch, right?
Indeed. There was no reason why I couldn't do both jobs at once. It was the perfect opportunity to steal my latest target.
I see. You truly are evil, aren't you?
Yes, evil is what I am.
Hey, Nick, isn't there something odd about this?
Huh?
Detective Atmey was always proud of his ace detective skills, right? What if the urn was stolen from Lordly Taylor while he was the only one watching it? He'd have no way to maintain his perfect ace detective persona.
You know, that's true. It is kind of odd. Meaning he intended to be arrested for it, maybe.
A photograph contains no words, but in this case, one turned out to be my witness.
So by photograph, you mean this piece of evidence here, is that correct?
Indeed it is. That is it. The very thing that proves I committed the crime.
The very thing that proves you committed the crime. When you think about it, it's really odd. You say that almost as if you had this picture taken on purpose.
Objection!
He was simply caught by the very camera that he had set up. We all have days like that.
Indeed. It turned out that there was no such thing as the perfect crime after all. Life is truly an ironic thing. A sad blue melody.
Looks like I'd better gather more information for now. If he's truly the killer, there's got to be something phony in that photo. That's what I was getting at. There's no proof that it was taken on the day. This guy had complete control of the computer. It should be taken into doubt.
The time at which the camera captured Mask Demask was the same time as the murder.
Maybe here's where we point out the photo and say, no, there's no way to prove that. About the camera that took this photograph.
Oh, come now. It's all too clear what you're thinking.
Huh?
You think I altered the timestamp on the photograph, didn't you?
Well, he's talking about altering the timestamp, but that's the thing. It's probably the real time, but on the wrong date.
afraid that's impossible. The camera was set up by Lordly Taylor. And on top of that, it was Lordly Taylor's staff that printed that picture's data. Unfortunately for the defense, there's no way that picture could have been altered.
I see.
Looks like I'd better find something else that could be suspicious. So this alibi is false?
It has to be, or he couldn't have killed Mr. Bullard at KB Security.
But I'm not really spotting anything unusual.
There are two possibilities. Either the mask in the photo is a fake, or the photo itself is. Right. I was stealing the urn as mask just as I announced I would. Well, we can't disprove that, otherwise this trial would already be over and we'd know he was not at the basement. I had more than enough time to prepare. It was a perfectly easy job. I mean, yeah, nothing to contest there. A photograph contains no words, but in this case, one turned out to be a witness. Yeah, that's objective truth. The time at which the camera captured Mask was the same time as the murder. Yeah, out of all the sentences here, this is definitely the one we need to contest here with evidence. So, 12:58 a.m. So, the golden statue of Amy Faye isn't in this photo. It was moved prior to this being taken. Which is odd. I actually don't know why Luke would do that. Because... yeah, Adrian Andrews set up the statue to hide the paint stain. And so Luke Atmey was completely alone. There was no scuffle or anything. The only way the statue could have moved is if it was on purpose, but why would he do that? Anyway, what I want to do is show this photo on the hope that Phoenix would point out that there's no way to tell what the date was. But... when did Adrian move the statue? Hold on. Oh. Yeah, that's right, the paint was spilt and then it arrived, and Adrian conveniently had the statue to cover it up. And the paint was around the time that Luke Atmey took the job to infiltrate the basement. Oh wait, the warehouse camera went off once at around 1 a.m. on the night of the crime. Yeah, and as Godot just said that, this info was certified and processed by the staff of the museum, so there's no way Luke could have altered it. So I think my entire theory up until now is bunk. Oh well. So, that means there's something else we can do here. Wait. Found in the shadow of Amy Faye's statue. Godot found this after the murder, or after the night of the murder and theft, which means the brooch, however you want to pronounce it, I guess they're both the same word, I think, I remember hearing that. That means that the brooch was underneath the statue after it had wheeled backwards, exposing the paint. But that's not relevant to the photo. This is all KB security stuff. prepared by Adrian 2 weeks ago, then replaced in its box, kept out of sight. When Adrian dropped the urn's box 2 weeks ago, she also knocked off some paint. Yeah, that lines up with the photo. It's not like it was taken before the 20 days ago. Maybe if I press that one statement earlier, where Phoenix says I need more info, something new will happen. Oh, I think this is new. Come on, think long and hard about that night, the basement warehouse, and this picture that supposedly captures it. It's got to be here. Isn't there something funny about this picture? Well, I guess I'm forced to do this, so...
Are you implying that this picture is a fake?
You bet I am. There's definitely something strange about this picture. We took a look around the basement warehouse that night, before the theft took place. And there's something in this photo that doesn't match my memory of that night. Oh, is it that the statue's not here? Very well, then let's hear what you have to say. What about this photograph do you find funny? I'm gonna go for the paint itself and not the indent. This might hurt if I get it wrong.
Take that!
The funny part is right here. Why this? This is a blood stain. Oh, I guess it would look like that if you didn't know it was pink paint. Oh, blood. Now this case is getting interesting. It wasn't interesting before? Not exactly. The stain is actually pink paint. Oh, just paint. And peach colored at that. From blood to peaches. Judge sure loves going on his wild tangents. The problem with this photograph is not the paint. The problem is, when you consider the layout of the basement warehouse, it turns out that something that should be there is nowhere to be seen. Oh, Luke doesn't like that. Well, Mr. Wright, what is supposed to be in this picture instead of the paint stains? Why, the statue of Amy Faye. The supervisor of the treasure exhibit stated the following.
Well, there's a good reason for that. On the day of the crime, around noon, that golden statue just happened to arrive in the mounted training hall. I realized the statue would be the perfect size for covering up the paint stains. That's why I put it where you first saw it.
I myself was there that night the theft took place, and saw the statue in that spot. If this picture was truly taken on that night, then that statue should have been there. Oh! It's not there because it was moved. It's not there because it hadn't even arrived yet. Oh!
Objection!
But when I went there the day after the theft, that statue of the old bag was sitting in the corner. Perhaps it was somehow pushed there accidentally. Your Honor, the statue is slightly larger than yourself and quite heavy. It would take more than an accidental push to move it at that distance. Ha! In that case, can you prove it? Can you give us the rhyme and reason as to why that statue was moved that night? Can you do it, Nick? Never mind who moved it. The real question is, why did they move it? Well, Mr. Wright, I hope you're prepared with your answer. Now then, who was the one that moved the golden statue on the night of the crime? Luke Atmey did. Maybe Luke Atmey did it to make sure the scene lined up with the photo he took days in advance to set up this framing of Ron. Or not the framing of Ron, but more like his alibi for theft. But no, we're trying to say that Luke Atmey wasn't there at the basement at all. But we don't have to say it was Luke Atmey. We could say it was Mask Demask. Mask Demask isn't Luke Atmey, after all. Right? I mean, I don't think it would... Okay, realistically, the only people it could be would be Mask Demask, Luke Atmey, and Adrian Andrews. No one else could have moved it. Adrian wouldn't want to because she was using the statue to hide the embarrassing paint. Luke Atmey, we don't want to say it was Luke Atmey because we're trying to pin him as being at KB Security. So the only person it could be is Mask Demask. What do you think, Mr. Godot?
A man should be able to answer his own questions. That's what I think. Right now, I'm busy trying to come up with my 2 answers of my own. Why is coffee black? And why is it bitter?
Mr. Wright, to put it simply, you've messed up.
Well, at least I'm not penalized.
Alright, I guess we'll go with Luke Atmey? The one who moved the statue is none other than Luke Atmey.
Come now, Sir Lawyer. There you go again on one of your strange delusions.
Mr. Wright, what basis do you have for your strange delusions?
It's very simple.
The witness was the only one in the basement warehouse that night.
That is indeed very simple. However, why would I want to move a heavy golden statue?
The reason for moving the golden statue. Here's where our battle really begins. Well, Mr. Wright, what reason did the witness have to move that statue? The reason can be found here in this photograph. Luke Atmey, you pretended to be Mask Demask to create an alibi by showing you were at Lordly Taylor that night. But this photograph contains a single fatal flaw. If the statue had been there, your lie would be exposed like cheap film at a drugstore. That's why you had to move the statue. A single fatal flaw? Interesting theory. Please enlighten us. Just where in this picture does this lie exist? I was hoping it would show up a multiple choice question thingy, and I could say this photo wasn't taken, Perhaps it's a brooch? The brooch should be under the statue, or... Okay. Phoenix said if the statue was in the photograph, there would be a flaw. Meaning... there's something about this photo that proves it wasn't taken on the night of the murder. I could say there's like no tread marks in the paint. No, stupid. Oh god, I don't know. Do I point out that there's no paint on the box he's holding? Do I point out the little indent from the box? Do I point his brooch? Do I point out the timestamp that doesn't show what date it is? This is tough. This is really tough. I can't look at the court record now. Damn it. Please forgive me. I've been doing this a lot lately, but for the sake of brevity, I gave it the old college try, but I need to look this up. Okay. My hunch about the date was correct, I think. I think the reason I didn't go gun-ho on choosing the timestamp is that I might have been hung up on Godot saying that the timestamp was undeniable truth, that this photo was not doctored because it went through all the processing and approval. But, yeah, no, the truth is, this could be on any day.
Take that!
Naturally, the lie in this photo is the timestamp. What do you mean? I'll tell you exactly what I mean. On the night of the question, Luke Atmey went to KB Security and murdered Kane Bullard. Therefore, it's obvious. It would have been impossible for him to have been at Lordly Taylor at this time. But what does that have to do with the statue being moved? Remember, if you will, Your Honor, when was the statue placed besides the warehouse door? Oh, well... The statue was taken down to the warehouse on the day of the crime, and it was placed there in order to cover up the paint. Exactly. Luke Atmey had already decided on the time when he was going to kill the victim. And so, in order to create an alibi for that time, he took this picture days before the murder took place. What the... Of course, the statue hadn't yet been brought down to the basement warehouse yet. Oh. So, on the day of the crime, Mr. Atmey must have been quite nervous. As nervous as a long-tailed cat in a rocking chair factory, so to speak. That's a new one. Why? Because something that wasn't supposed to be there had been brought down and placed where it wasn't supposed to be. And that is why Luke Atmey had to move the statue on the night of the murder. He did it to make the room match with the way it had been in this photo.
Wah!
Order! Order! Mr. Atmey, is this true?
One moment, Your Honor. Have you forgotten this?
What's that?
The data for the basement warehouse computer. According to this, the camera did indeed go off on the night of the crime.
Objection!
It's true that the camera had been set up by the Lordly Taylor staff. However, the program used to manage that data was yours. That alone would have allowed you to tamper with the data. Order! Order! Mr. Godot, what is the meaning of this? Godot, I warned you about making me wait. Now put that coffee down.
My 11th cup. I've promised to drink no more than 17 during a trial. Which means I'm still good to the last drop.
Boy, this guy must have diarrhea a lot. However, the defense has a very good point.
A good point? So what? We are all but travelers on the road of infinite points. I think he's got his points mixed up with his other points. So you say this photograph was taken ahead of time, and that the statue was moved in order to make it match. That's a very interesting idea. However, there's one point that can't be done. There's one point that can't be denied.
Which is? That's 12.
That it's only a possibility. Men that are trapped by the chains of maybe can never reach their dreams.
That's very true. No way! Don't fall for that, Your Honor.
Hey, Mr. Damask.
Yes?
If there's no funny business in your actions as Mask Damask, there should be no problem with you telling us your strategy. So let's hear it.
Yes, please provide this court with your testimony about your plan to steal the sacred urn.
I first received the request from Lordly Taylor about 20 days ago. The urn was placed in a box, and Zvari, it was then sent to the warehouse. Hence, I was actually unable to see the urn for myself until the day of the crime.
No, I pointed this out at the end of last episode. Luke Atmey definitely saw the urn before he sent the calling card 10 days in. He called it speckled. He actually did call it speckled in the calling card. Yeah, this is bullshit. I immediately see through this one. Good.
I knew it was an extremely valuable treasure, so I sent my card 10 days beforehand. I then handled security by myself to ensure that my crime would go smoothly. At last, I held the urn in my hands for the first time at 1 a.m. on October 12th.
That's pretty much all stuff we've heard before, isn't it?
Yeah, but we will find the truth hidden in the nuggets of new information he gave. Witness, you're sure there are no mistakes this time?
Zvari.
Very well then, Mr. Wright. You may begin your cross-examination. The Sacred Urn Heist.
I first received the request from Lordly Taylor about 20 days ago.
You were asked to guard the urn by Miss Adrian Andrews, is that right?
Indeed, it seemed that they had heard my sparkling reputation.
Wow.
I see Miss Andrews is still attracting the weirdos.
You better watch out too, Maya.
The urn was placed in a box, and Zvari, it was then sent to the warehouse.
You mean this box?
Yes, that pathetic box. Lady Andrews was especially taken with that urn, and she wouldn't let anyone enter the storeroom, not even me.
Huh. Interesting new tidbit.
Hence, I was actually unable to see the urn for myself until the day of the crime.
So you're sure that you had never seen the urn before?
Indeed, you may ask Lady Andrews to confirm for yourself. My security was focused entirely on the entrance to that warehouse. However, I, Luke Atmey, let no information whatsoever slip through my fingers. I knew it was an extremely valuable treasure, so I sent my card 10 days beforehand.
You mean this calling card?
That's right. That is, without a doubt, my calling card.
I guess Mr. Delight could make this after all.
Of course, because Atmey knew about the emblem. Making this card authentic would have been child's play for him.
I then handled security by myself to ensure that my crime would go smoothly.
Then no one entered the basement warehouse.
Unfortunately, there were many different treasures being taken there. Thus, for a period of approximately 5 days, people were indeed going in and out of the warehouse. At last, I held the urn in my hands for the first time at 1 a.m. on October 12th.
And this is the photo that proves that, huh?
Indeed, to be honest, even if a photo was taken, I didn't think it would matter terribly much.
Hey, Nick, if this photo is a fake, Detective Atmey might have stolen the urn whenever this was taken.
Nope. That's true. You know, he's been saying that he never saw the urn until that night. If we can prove that he's lying there, we can wrap this up and put a bow on it. We need to take a good hard look at the court record. Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. Okay. Hence, I was actually unable to see the urn for myself until the day of the crime. Why, then, did you say that the urn was speckled 10 days prior?
Objection!
Mr. Atmey, if you really are Mask Demask, then you also wrote this calling card, correct?
But of course.
Is there a problem with that calling card?
Allow me to read a passage from the calling card that Mask Demask had written. Take good care of the speckled urn. Now, the speckled here surely refers to the pink pattern on the sacred urn. Yes, that is true. But so what? Truth be told, there is no way that Mask Demask could have known about this pattern.
What do you mean?
This pink spotted pattern on the urn is actually nothing more than paint stains. Paint stains? And these stains did not appear until after the urn had been taken to Lordly Taylor. That's 13.
I'm not finding this joke to be very funny, Mr. Trite.
The day that the sacred urn was taken to the warehouse, the urn was broken due to human error, or should I say an error-prone human. Wow. And that's when the pink paint got on the urn.
You can't be serious.
And yet this calling card clearly mentions the paint pattern. Which means Detective Atmey had seen this urn long before the crime ever took place. In fact, he saw it when this fake photo was taken. Poof! And because this photo was a fake, their alibi for the night of the murder no longer holds water. Oh my! Score 1 for the defense. Witness, do you have anything to say for yourself? Alright, that did it. He's broken.
Nick? I think it's still a little early for a victory pose.
Huh? 14.
Ha! It's so sad. No one has any conviction these days.
Conviction, you say?
Yesterday, we all decided unanimously that this man was Mask Demask. And now we're calling him a murderer. You don't think we're being a tad fickle?
That's a good point.
No way, don't fall for that too, Your Honor.
You say that Luke Atmey was the one who killed Kane Bullard? Let me ask you this. Why would he do that?
An excellent point. Motive, Mr. Wright, motive. Might you my merry murderous motive manifest?
Nick, he's getting his second wind.
If he prepared an alibi and pinned his crime on Ron Delight as you say, he must have had a very strong motive for murder.
The only one with any motive we've seen is Ron Delight. Isn't that right, Detective?
Indeed. According to my own research, the boy's motive is clear.
Without a motive, it's nearly impossible to prove guilt in a murder case. Now then, maybe you can enlighten us as to what the defendant's motives were.
I'd be honored to, Sir Old-Timer.
They're doing everything they can to make Ron look suspicious. Despite our lack of hard information, this may be our only chance. Motives for murder.
I, Luke Atmey, had no points of contact with the victim whatsoever. King Bullard decided to investigate Mask the Mask and simply mistook who he was. It was Mr. Bullard who wrote the blackmail letter and sent it to Ron Delight.
How do you know that?
And it was again Mr. Bullard who harbored a grudge against Mr. Delight for his betrayal. Mr. Bullard's mistake is quite excusable. The defendant truly believes he is Mask the Mask. That is why Mr. Delight saw it fit to kill King Bullard. Truly a tragedy.
So the victim, King Bullard, blackmailed the defendant. This is the blackmail letter found in the defendant's apartment. The handwriting test confirms that Mr. Bullard was indeed the one who wrote the letter. What? Okay. Very well, Mr. Wright. Begin your cross-examination. Oh boy.
I, Luke Atmey, had no points of contact with the victim whatsoever.
And who in the world is going to prove that? I will. After doing a thorough background check on Detective Atmey and King Bullard, we were unable to find any links between them. It's all in the report. Perhaps they were connected through their work. They are both involved in security. Nope. That was blunt.
In any case, the only one with a motive was Mr. Delight. King Bullard decided to investigate Mask the Mask and simply mistook who he was.
Mistook?
That's right, mistook. From the Old Norse mistaka, meaning to take in error.
That wasn't what I meant. Just who did the victim mistake Mask the Mask to be?
Why, the answer is obvious. Ron Delight, of course.
Boy, I'd like to wipe that smug look off this guy's face. Why would the victim mistake the defendant for Mask the Mask?
Don't you already know that? Zvari, take a look at this newspaper.
Oh, that's the famous Tear of Emanon, a magnificent jewel.
And that photo shows a magnificent detective as well, does it not? Furthermore, it also shows an ugly guard, namely the defendant.
The defendant?
The victim clearly misread this article and, Zvari, he got the wrong impression. The impression that this ugly security guard was in fact Mask the Mask.
I see.
That was an unusually reasonable deduction.
It was Mr. Bullard who wrote the blackmail letter and sent it to Ron Delight.
You mean this blackmail letter right here? It says, bring $50,000. And the handwriting is without a doubt the victim's.
There's no mistake. We have an official report to prove it.
But I don't see an address on this letter anywhere. Or an addressee. Yeah.
This letter was discovered in Ron Delight's apartment. And Mr. Delight did show up at the designated place and time. The fact that there was no addressee is irrelevant.
I wonder.
What's up, Nick?
I just had a thought. What if that blackmail letter wasn't meant for Mr. Delight? Yeah, the blackmail letter mentions the red jewel. Luke Atmey just said he stole a jewel that's red and he's wearing it on his finger. So the blackmail letter was sent to Luke, and Luke gave it to Ron because he knew Ron would believe the letter was meant for him.
Whoa! Do you have any evidence of that? For some reason, just can't shake the feeling that there's something not quite right about this blackmail letter.
Well, everyone, are you quite satisfied? And it was again Mr. Bullard who harbored a grudge against Mr. Delight for his betrayal.
What do you mean by that?
Oh my, I was certain you were already aware. Zvari. KB Security has a lot of security info on all sorts of companies. And since I was a security team chief, I stole data from the company. King Bullard had yet to forgive young Mr. Delight, which is why he sent him that letter upon mistakenly believing he was the thief.
Here's a file that we discovered in Mr. Bullard's office. Evidence that Mr. Bullard was receiving money through blackmail.
However, isn't this a bit odd? Why did the defendant pay Mr. Bullard the money, even though he wasn't actually mask-to-mask?
On that point, there was an unfortunate bit of chance. Mr. Bullard's mistake is quite excusable. The defendant truly believes he is mask-to-mask.
Do you really think that story is going to hold up?
That assertion is not merely my own, I'm afraid.
What do you mean? I have here a memo from Ron Delight's wife, Desiree Delight.
Was that 15? I lost count.
Ronnie thinks he's mask to mask. Don't you feel sorry for him? Please don't think too badly of him. Ha! Well, Mr. Trite?
Was he trying to act like Miss Delight just now?
I thought he was actually pretty convincing.
And that is why Mr. Delight sought fit to kill King Bullard. Truly a tragedy.
Now that's just your imagination talking.
Come now, Sir Lawyer. I'm afraid imagination isn't the right word for it. This is a deduction, the result of carefully applied reasoning.
Can we hear that careful reasoning for ourselves?
It's a long story and better saved for another time.
Very well, another time. So-called long stories aren't usually all that long. At least not in my experience. Okay. Well... So I want to say it was Mr. Bullard who wrote the blackmail letter and sent it to Ron Delight. I think that's the one. We can say either, one, this letter isn't actually addressed to anyone, how can we know for certain? And two, Ron has no relation to any red diamond. I think that might be what we have to do here. So, here goes nothing.
Objection!
Yay, I did it! Mind if I ask you a few questions, Detective Atmey?
Well, if it's just a few, I guess it's alright.
When you said that this letter was addressed to Ron Delight, I couldn't help but notice one major contradiction.
Contradiction?
I don't know where a walking contradiction like you gets off saying things like that.
You're one to talk.
At times like these, men are made to express themselves with their fists. Why don't you show us what you've got there, Junior?
Indeed. Time to man up, Mr. Wright. show us the contradicting evidence in the content of the blackmail letter? Okay. Wait, no, that's the calling card. Whoops. If you don't want your true identity revealed to the world, come to KB Security at 1 a.m. on October 12th and bring $50,000. If you don't, I'll take that red diamond you received the other day instead. Is this where I point out in the Kane's list that the red jewel isn't here? Well, it might be Kane's list, but I'm gonna tab out real quick and double check. Because I'm a coward. Oh. Oh. Apparently I'm supposed to show off the newspaper clipping. I guess it's because the Jewel of Emanon is blue, and yet the blackmail letter mentions a red gem? Yeah, no, I don't think I would have been able to get this one on my own. I'm sorry, but... why would I think... Like, this is... The Jewel of Emanon was the very first thing that Mask Demask stole. I assume that was weeks and weeks and weeks ago. And furthermore, the blackmail letter says the red jewel you received. I wouldn't have thought that meant stealing. Well, I guess we'll see where this ends up.
Take that!
Take a good look at this newspaper clipping. It contains a picture of the Tear of Emanon, the stolen jewel. Well, what about it? The problem is this jewel's color. Yeah, no, I definitely wouldn't have gotten this. I would not have gotten this. This is too out there. The phrasing is all messed up. Color? I'm not much for discussing color myself. What, is something really wrong with his eyes then? Is that why he wears his weird mask? According to the clipping, the color of the stolen... Oh wait, no, that's Phoenix, not Godot. According to the clipping, the color of the stolen jewel was blue. However, in the blackmail letter, a totally different jewel is mentioned. I'll take that red diamond you received the other day. Red? Which means the red diamond described in the blackmail letter is not the Tear of Emanon that Mask Demask stole at all.
Objection!
And your point is, Mr. Wright? So you're trying to say that this blackmail letter was intended for someone else? That is what you're trying to say, right, Wright? That is what you're trying to say? Right, Mr. Wright? Well, that is what you're trying to say, right, Nick? Yes. This is who Kane Bullard was actually blackmailing. The man with the red jewel on his hand, Luke Atmey. Naturally, it was you, Detective Atmey. Do you have some sort of basis for that claim? You have been personally involved in every single Mask Demask case. And in the last case, you recovered what was stolen and received a jewel as your reward. A jewel? Probably the one wrapped conspicuously around your finger. That red diamond ring. That is the diamond referred to in the letter, which means that Kane Bullard wrote that letter in order to blackmail you.
Yeah!
Order in the court.
Objection.
Up to 17, right?
It seems you've gone too far with your childish pranks, Mr. Wright.
Uh-oh. I don't like the way he said that.
Kane Bullard blackmailing Luke Atmey? Are you for real?
Yes, I am.
Nick, come on, stand up to him. Then answer me this. The blackmail letter contains the following passage. If you don't want your identity revealed to the world...
Yes, it certainly does.
Kane Bullard threatened to make Luke Atmey's identity public knowledge. An identity he wanted to keep a secret. So just what was that identity?
Atmey killed Kane Bullard because he was afraid of a secret becoming known. What was the identity he wanted to keep secret?
This is what it all comes down to, Nick.
The identity that Luke Atmey wanted to so desperately keep secret was his identity as... Mask the Mask. Because Kane Bullard mistakenly thought Luke Atmey was Mask the Mask. Luke Atmey didn't want to be pinned for the crime yet. He only devised the plan to be caught as Mask the Mask well after the blackmail in the first place. So he murdered Kane Bullard to silence him, and luckily, planned out sending the blackmail letter to Ron Delight to pin the murder on him, and so Luke would be able to go scot-free. And being tried and found guilty as Mask the Mask was a contingency plan in case things didn't go well for him in court. So yeah, I want to say Mask the Mask. Luke Atmey was Mask the Mask. What?
That's my line.
Well, what's that supposed to mean?
That's my line too. Listen up, you. This is what you've been saying up to this point in time. The witness pretended to be Mask the Mask in order to pin the murder on the defendant. In which case, you'll want to insist up to and beyond the day you die that Ron Delight was in fact Mask the Mask.
I must say, the sudden change of heart doesn't reflect well on... I didn't think about that. I was like, yeah, I'm aware of that, but it really means, it was his motive for killing Kane. So... It can't be an ace detective. That's what Luke Atmey wears on his sleeve. He wants the whole world to know he's a legendary ace detective. He gloats about it night and day. So it can't be that. But then, there's the blackmailer. What blackmail? Has Luke Atmey blackmailed people before? What do you mean? I don't know. And, because I don't want to replay anything, I'm going to look it up. Yay! Okay, I mean, I guess I should have just picked it by process of elimination. Luke Atmey was a blackmailer.
Objection!
Hey now, isn't that all different from what you've been saying? You said that Kane Bullard was the one blackmailing Luke Atmey. Are you saying that Atmey was blackmailing someone else on top of that? You have to admit that does sound a little odd.
It's not odd. It's the only thing that makes any sense. Kane Bullard was blackmailing Luke Atmey. But Ron Delight was also being blackmailed by a certain someone. So, did you start receiving blackmail letters after this incident?
Yes, just a few days after the Tear of Eminon heist.
Oh! God damn it, I didn't remember this because it's been weeks! Ah! If I knew this, I'm certain I would have put two and two together that because Kane Bullard only thought that Luke Atmey was the Masky Mask, then therefore Kane had no reason to blackmail Ron Delight. Therefore, the only person who could have blackmailed him was Luke Atmey, who knew Ron was the real Masky Mask.
I received plans from some very kind person. Incredibly detailed plans.
Detailed plans? In which case, that would mean that Ron Delight was actually Masky Mask. And is what we are claiming. Someone else came up with the plans and had Mr. Delight steal his targets for him. And that someone was none other than Luke Atmey.
Shh. Silence. Now I see. It's all becoming clear.
Well, what is?
When you were in grade school, you received the same report card every year. Careless, with a tendency to jump to conclusions. Am I wrong?
How did you? Oh, Phoenix.
You say that I, Luke Atmey, was blackmailing Ron Delight? In which case, I would naturally know all about his relation to Masky Mask.
Well, yes.
Ron Delight started receiving plans from his second crime onward, correct? Which means I learned of his identity when he committed the first crime.
Good point. You certainly couldn't have blackmailed him otherwise. Okay, this is definitely more than 17.
In that case, let's see some hot, bitter evidence. During the first crime, how did Luke Atmey know that Ron Delight was Masky Mask?
I mean, the newspaper clipping. This is blindingly obvious. Luke found the Masky Mask costume in the trash when Ron planted it there to hide it.
Take that!
I think I see it.
See what?
When you were in grade school, you received the same report card every year. Gets into lots of mischief trying to be the center of attention.
What do you mean?
This newspaper clipping. It has a picture of you and Ron Delight in his guard uniform. It seems that Masky Mask didn't just disappear into thin air. He just took off his outfit and hid it in a bucket. That sounds far too stupid to be true. Correct. With tricks like that, he couldn't fool a baby, let alone an ace detective. And that's when you figured it out, Mr. Atmey. That's when you learned that under his mask, Masky Mask was really Ron Delight. What the? Wasn't he supposed to be Masky Mask? Not only that, it looks like he wasn't even an ace detective.
I can't believe it. He was just a slimy blackmailer. What a fraud, trying to pass himself off as an ace detective. Why, you? How dare you expose me like that? Why, I mean, I've never blackmailed anyone in my life. I'm a famous and proud ace detective and also Masky Mask. Why can't you understand that?
I'm afraid you are neither a proud thief nor an ace detective. You're a blackmailer and a murderer. That is your true identity.
Why, you? How dare you even dare to imply that never such lowly dust? Why not try those big mouths of yours? You're a fool's fools, I say. None of you can compare to my genius. You're all just jealous. So, Goon, just go on, discriminate. Oh, God, I give up.
Boy, usually I can keep up with old Bag's rants, but not that one. It would seem we've finally arrived at the real answer.
That was quite a performance by Mr. Atmey.
Bailiff, please prepare a cell for Mr. Atmey.
Objection!
The hammer that strikes too fast has no time to aim.
Well, what do you mean? I'm already prepared to deliver my ruling.
Allow me to say one thing. I will be the one to judge. You don't get much more in your face than that. It appears that your claws weren't quite sharp enough, Mr. Wright.
Well, what do you...
It's true that you've proven a lot of things. Things like Luke Atmey was a filthy blackmailer, and that he wasn't at Lordly Taylor the night of the murder.
That's right. That's why he's the one who killed Mr. Bolt.
But there's still one thing you have yet to prove.
What's that?
Just because he wasn't at the warehouse doesn't mean he was at the murder scene. Therefore, if you can't prove that this pitiful excuse for a man was at KB security, then I don't see how a verdict can be delivered.
No way! Order in the court. Well, Mr. Wright?
This is it. This is the final round.
You've got to prove that Atmey was at Mr. Bullard's office on that night.
But can you really prove that?
Not right now, hell no.
That's long enough, Mr. Wright. I want to hear your answer.
That night, Luke Atmey was at KB Security, and the defense can't prove it. I can't prove it. Just as I thought. But if we hear more of Detective Atmey's testimony...
Objection!
Unfortunately, that's as far as you go, Mr. Wright.
What do you mean?
I won't allow for any more testimony. That's what I mean.
What?
Have you forgotten? Luke Atmey is here after he interrupted his own trial. And you have failed to prove that he committed the murder. I think it's time for this witness to return to his own trial and face his guilty verdict as Mask Mask.
No.
Well now, Sir Lawyer, it seems that love wins out in the end after all.
Love? Where does that figure into it?
I am the ace detective as well as Masky Mask. My verdict will verify that. Just as Round Delights will verify that he is a true murderer. I declare that with the full force of my ace detectiveness.
Order in the court. That's enough deliberation over this witness.
I can't believe this. At this rate, Ron is... Don't give up now, Nick. We still have tomorrow. We can look for more evidence and...
By then, it'll be too late.
Huh? Well, why? Double jeopardy. One of the basic rules of any court of law. Double jeopardy?
Should a defendant be tried and found innocent in court, that defendant cannot be tried again for the same crime. This is a fundamental rule of all courts. And it applies to this witness as much as it applies to anyone else.
Mr. Atmey will be found guilty in a matter of minutes. Guilty as mask demask, which means
He will be innocent as far as the murder of Kane Bullard is concerned.
no way.
The fact that you are unable to prove Mr. Atmey's guilt of that crime here means that he will never again be tried as Kane Bullard's murderer.
Not good.
Now there's nothing I can possibly do to win. Even if Ron is proclaimed to be innocent, the real killer, Luke Atmey, will go free.
You have cross-examined every statement the witness has made here today. And as long as there is no more testimony, I'm afraid I have to declare that there will be no further questioning of this witness. Are there any objections? Then I hereby end the cross-examination of Luke Atmey.
I was waiting for you to show up.
I think I see it. Your Honor, when you were a child, this is what was on your report card every year. Has poor hearing and often makes mistakes as a result.
How did you...
Phoenix, raise your head up high. Have you forgotten what I used to tell you? A lawyer is someone who smiles no matter how bad it gets. That voice. No way. Long time no see, Phoenix.
Mia!
This is the true power of the Karain channeling technique.
I know that it's really Maya who's standing before me, but right now, she's my mentor, Mia Fey.
Now, let's do this.
But there's nothing more we can do, Mia. Without any more testimony, I can't cross-examine.
Not yet. The testimony's not over yet.
What do you mean?
Your Honor, just now you said something very interesting. You have cross-examined every statement the witness has made here today.
Yes, that's true, but...
Unfortunately, Your Honor, you're forgetting something. Earlier, after the last cross-examination, this witness made a number of remarks.
Oh!
Yes, but these comments appear to have no importance whatsoever.
Very well. Then we shall prove their importance via cross-examination. At any rate, as long as the witness has made these remarks, we, the defense, assert our right to question them. Is that alright with you? Prosecute?
Whoa. Whoa, wait. Whoa. Assuming my theory that Godot is Diego Armando is correct, then Mia being here, speaking to him, is kind of... Whoa?
Is something the matter, Mr. Godot?
Nothing.
Oh, Sir Lawyer, it looks like you've one step too late.
Well, Godot had quite the reaction to seeing Maya, huh? He lost himself. I say.
If you think such falsehoods will do anything to me, look at... Let's hear it.
Huh?
It's true that the witness made some remarks. So then, let's hear this last bit of cross-examination.
Yeah, Godot was 100% on board with Mia's plan. Well, there you go.
Mr. Godot, what are you...
Very well then, Mr. Luke Atmey. I'm going to allow the defense to cross-examine your earlier remarks.
The defense would like to hear why you declare the defendant to be the true murderer.
So please, give us one last bit of testimony.
Phoenix, this is it. This is our absolute last chance.
Yes, Chief. The last testimony. Okay, well, the last testimony. This is it, huh? Okay, I admit I have gone on. This video is going on long, but at this point, I think we're forced to end this right here. Let's do this.
Indeed, it is true that I was not at Lordly Taylor. I had to leave to see about another vitally important job request. I had known about the date beforehand, so I had this photograph readied. My brilliant deduction was that informed me that the true culprit was Ron Delight. And thanks to the keycard and wallet, it was abundantly clear that he was there. I was also able to make a deduction from the buzzer, which only said...
No. He's talking about the evidence after the fact, not that he was there.
I was also able to make a deduction from the buzzer, which only sounded once. The button did not have any fingerprints on it. Why? The victim would have left prints if he sounded it, which means the killer sounded it. But Ron came in his costume. Mr. Delight was wearing his Masky Mask outfit, which was why he left no prints. And the blackmailer, the victim likely just mistook the color of the jewel. Zvari. Therefore, all the evidence points to that poor boy.
This testimony actually seems to hold up pretty well. The witness's earlier remarks do not appear to have been hastily prepared. All of his points have been explained, and none of them seem to contradict anything.
But of course...
But how did you know about the emergency buzzer?
The police investigation documents went directly through me. And I always look over all the documents. It's elementary, Sir Lawyer.
Ugh.
Are you going to make even more trouble for us now, Sir Lawyer?
I will not allow any of your usual shenanigans, Mr. Wright.
Yes, Your Honor.
We cannot postpone Luke Atmey's trial any longer. This is your last chance.
Hang on a sec. Just one chance?
Ha! It seems that the party's about to begin. Well, Phoenix?
There isn't any evidence that contradicts with that testimony.
So it would seem.
What do you mean, so it would seem?
Listen, Phoenix. Pointing out contradictions doesn't always mean you have to present evidence, does it? At any rate, this is our last chance. If you can't point out a case-breaking contradiction, you lose. That's all there is to it. Cup number 17. The last cup. It seems like the time has come to put an end to this trial.
I have to find a fatal contradiction in this testimony, and I need to point it out without presenting evidence. Which means all I can do is find the contradictory remark and press it.
Remember, you only get one chance.
Oh shit. Very well then, Mr. Wright. Please begin your final cross-examination. Okay. Indeed, it is true that I was not at Lordly Taylor. I had to leave to see about another vitally important job request. I had known about the date beforehand, so I had this photograph ready. My brilliant deduction was what informed me that the true culprit was Ron Delight. And thanks to the key card and wallet, it was abundantly clear that he was there. I was also able to make a deduction from the buzzer, which only sounded once. The button did not have any fingerprints on it. Why? The victim would have left prints if he sounded it, which means the killer sounded it. Mr. Delight was wearing his Masky Mask outfit, which is why he left no prints. And the blackmail letter, the victim likely just mistook the color of the jewel. Sorry, therefore all the evidence points to that poor boy. Okay. Okay. Let's take this step by step. Break it down, piece by piece. Indeed, it is true that I was not at Lordly Taylor. So I need to look at all these questions with the angle of, I'm not exactly trying to contradict anything. I'm trying to get him to talk more about specific points, and him talking about it more will make him fall into a trap of his own doing. Indeed, it is true that I was not at Lordly Taylor. I could press him and get him to say where he was, but no, it would be too easy to wriggle out of. I had to leave to see about another vitally important job request. Same reasoning as the first question. You can just wriggle out of it. I had known about the date beforehand, so I had this photograph readied. Now, the date of the crime and the murder was one and the same. So, Luke Atmey's admitting to dressing up as Masty Mask and staging the photograph here. It's because he wouldn't be able to be there. My brilliant deduction was what informed me that the true culprit was Ron Delight. Yeah, he looked in the trash can and saw the costume on the day of the first heist of the Tier of Emanon. Nothing to say there. And thanks to the key card and wallet, it was abundantly clear that he was there. Yeah, he's talking about the key card and wallet being found at KB Security, the scene of the crime. I was also able to make a deduction from the buzzer, which only sounded once. That it did. The button did not have any fingerprints on it. Why? The victim would have left prints if he sounded it, which means the killer sounded it. Well... yeah, I guess it's true. That's also true, apparently. The blackmail letter, the victim likely just mistook the color of the jewel? That's such bullshit, but there's no way we can counter that. So... I am very scared. I don't know what to do here. None of these are jumping out in the slightest, no matter how much I think about them. Alright, I admit it. I'm defeated. I give up. I don't know what to do here. I admit defeat. Say what you will about me, but I'm gonna check it up. Okay. Apparently this is the one I need to press? Mr. Delight was wearing his mask outfit, which is why he left no prints? What? How in the world is this one it? This is one of the ones I ruled out. Okay, no, I'm gonna sit here and reverse engineer this now that I know the answer. Mr. Delight was wearing his mask outfit, which is why he left no prints. Is it that Luke Atmey's supposed to have no idea that Ron wore his costume to the scene? The only way Luke could know this is if he saw Ron Delight? Maybe that's it. Maybe it's as simple as that. Okay, let's try it. Mr. Atmey, about this last remark.
Objection!
You still don't get it, do you, Wright? This isn't the time to be pressing the witness on every little statement. I'm afraid you're the one who still doesn't get it, Mr. Godot. What? Mr. Atmey, it seems you have finally admitted that you were in the CEO's office on the night of the murder. How can you say that? Let's review your testimony, shall we, Mr. Atmey? The button did not have any fingerprints on it. Why? Mr. Delight was wearing his mask outfit. Is that correct? Indeed. That's what I said. My deductions are absolutely foolproof. More like your deductions prove that you are a fool. I'm sorry. Whatever do you mean? For some reason, I'm starting to get really thirsty. Yeah, it's because you saw Mia. When exactly did we learn the fact that Ron Delight was dressed as Mask when he went to the scene of the crime? That was, It was just a few hours ago. Back when my 6th cup of coffee was staring at me with a cold stare. Huh? Oh, did I forget to mention it before? I'm sorry, I just never had a chance to mention it up until now. That's right. The defendant had yet to tell anyone else this fact before this morning. Therefore, the only people who should know this are those who have been watching this trial. Do you understand now, Detective Atmey? There was no way that you should have known about that. Yeah. You were in the next courtroom, being tried as Mask. So then enlighten us. Just how did you know about that piece of information? Well... Come on. This detective must have known about it. He probably had plenty of chances to find out beforehand. And it's those chances that I want to discuss next. That night, Mr. Delight was wearing his Mask outfit. There was one and only one way for Detective Atmey to have found that out. Only one. One way, you say? Please recall, if you will, Mr. Delight's testimony. When I entered the office, there was a suspicious shadow there. For a second, my client witnessed the real killer.
Objection!
But Mr. Delight never saw his attacker. So there's no way to tell whether or not the real killer was Luke Atmey. It's with that statement that I'll turn this case on its head. Just what are you implying? Mr. Delight saw the real killer, correct? Now, if you turn that statement around, it stands to reason that the real killer had also seen Ron Delight. Impossible. Detective Atmey, you saw Mask Demask at the murder scene that night. You saw him when you killed Kane Bullard and assaulted Ron Delight. That was the only way you could have known what Ron was wearing. Excuse me?
Oh, yeah. Take a good look, everyone. Unable to find a rival worthy of my genius, I was forced to create one by myself. Here I am, the tragic clown.
That's the same line you gave yesterday. But I think there's a little more meaning behind it this time. What an awfully complicated incident. Kane Bullard was blackmailing Luke Atmey, who was in turn blackmailing Ron Delight. And upon killing his blackmailer, Luke Atmey tried to frame Ron Delight. He then claimed to be guilty as Mask Demask in order to escape his true crime. And to that end, he came up with this plan: to use the double jeopardy rule when making his alibi. At any rate, it would seem we finally found the truth.
Excuse me.
I came perilously close to besmirching the record of an innocent young man. Besmirching him with the title of murderer.
Don't ignore me.
Oh, I didn't realize you were there. Why wouldn't he be?
About the verdict?
I know. You never committed any murder.
That's right. I'm so glad you understand that, but I really am Mask Demask.
Huh?
So, thanks to that trial yesterday, I'm innocent now, right? What was it you said? Double jeopardy?
Now that you mentioned it, I've been careless.
Careless? What do you think, Mia? As the defendant says, the rule of double jeopardy is absolute. A defendant can never be tried twice for a crime in which he was once found innocent.
Then, Mask Demask is really innocent?
It would seem so. For now.
For now? Now then, this court finds the defendant not guilty.
Yay!
What a load of crock.
Boy, this is really lucky. This isn't so good after all. You see, this thing is, I still have Nasty Mask after all.
Right.
You did it, Phoenix.
Thanks, Mia. It's been a long time, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's because Maya doesn't call on me much these days.
Oh?
I'm just joking, Phoenix. Don't take everything so seriously. But on the other hand, Maya, she seems kind of torn these days.
You mean about becoming the master of the crane channeling school?
Becoming the master means saying goodbye to our mother.
Oh. Misty Faye, right?
Watch over her, will you, Phoenix?
Of course.
Well then, see you around.
Yeah. I guess acceding to the title of Master of the School means, in a sense, burying Misty Faye. Huh.
Mr. Wright, I don't know what to say.
Congratulations, Mr. Delight.
Thank you so much. No, wait. Nothing really matters anymore, though, now that all this is... Come on, just be happy already. Maya, you've been cleared of the murder charges and got off as Mask to boot. But, in exchange, I lost everything. Huh? What do you mean? Stealing security information from KB Security, becoming Masty Mask. I did it all for one reason. For her.
You mean your wife, Desiree?
She hates criminals more than anything.
Come to think of it, she was once held hostage by some robbers, wasn't she?
She always said how she hated sneaky criminals. I knew that, but once I got fired from KB Security and lost all the money I had, she wouldn't have any reason to stay with me. I thought she would leave me for sure.
So that's why you became Masty Mask?
Yes, but it's all over now. A broken bowl can never be put back together. That's not true. Right, Nick?
Right.
Really? Can we go back to the way things were? He'll be fine, and Nick can prove it.
I can. Kind of wish you would check with me first.
Mr. Delight, even if a bowl is broken,
There is always a way to put it back together. Ah.
you know, this urn box didn't get used in court, come to think of it.
We only just used it to crack one cyclock and that's it. Huh. But, yeah.
Take that!
The sacred urn. Desi was the one who found this.
Desiree, your wife, she always believed in you, Ron. That's why you'll be fine. You don't have to worry about anything.
Oh, there you are.
Miss Delight.
You did it, Ronnie. You're innocent. I'm so happy. Thank you. I appreciate that, but, I suppose you don't want anything more to do with me, do you? Ronnie, why didn't you talk to me about what was going on? I had no idea you'd quit KB Security. I never imagined that you were really Masty Mask either. Miss Delight, what are you going to do now that you know? You're not going to really leave him, are you? Come on, it's obvious, isn't it? How could I ever let a wonderful man like him get away? After all, my bike's really fast. So fast that there's no way he could ever get away.
But didn't you say that you hated criminals?
Huh? Oh, I only hate people who act all cowardly and sneaky. Like the detective.
I see.
My Ronnie went and declared his crimes before he committed them, like a man. I just love a man who's so chivalrous. Chivalrous? I knew I was right about you. Every day I spend with you is filled with thrills and excitement. Desi.
Desiree, you really do love Ron, don't you?
Nicky boy,
Yes?
I'm really glad I asked you to defend my Ronnie. Thank you so much. I'll never forget what you've done for us.
Oh, well, take care of yourself.
You too, Nicky boy.
Gulp. I can feel my face going red.
Mr. Nick, Mystic Maya, congratulations. Gasp.
Talk about bad timing.
Mr. Nick, how could you with another man's wife in front of Mystic Maya?
Of course. So just as the case came to a close, so too did my consciousness. Ron said, a broken bowl can never be put back together. But I know that's not true. I mean, just look. That's good. Here's a perfect example of one that was put back together even better than before. What a great case. I loved it. Yeah. Time to not look. Don't save, and... Alright, time to listen to the new cutscene. Wait, is this in court? It's automatically proceeding, so... What is going on? Yeah, I have no context whatsoever. I have no idea what's going on. It sounds like something's escalating, though. Whatever's going on, it sounds very dramatic. Wait, was that a case closed sound? The judge passed down a sentence? Wait, I'm confused. Well, okay, I think, yeah, now I can quit. Back to title screen. I have no freaking idea what just happened. So yeah. Great case. I am still a big fan of that. All the characters were really, really, really fun. And there were twists. It really bucked convection, not confection, but convention. And it really played with the formula, I guess. I'm a fan. So, yeah, I guess I should feel a bit ashamed that I had to look up so much, but I don't know. I'm just tired. I just want to get through this case. Not to imply I wasn't enjoying it, but maybe I'm just scarred from all my prior attempts earlier in the playthrough to just fail and have to replay through stuff. I just didn't feel like it, you know. You understand, right? Anywho. So, I think we are done here. Yeah, great case. I'm a fan. So, this has been Phoenix Wright Trials and Tribulations. I thank you for watching, and hopefully I will catch you next time when we embark on the third case in the game. So, until then, please take care.